So there we go. So we are live. So let's just jump right into it. Jang, I'm gonna pass it over to you to have the floor to really pump this team up. I know, not to put you on the spot or anything, but I know that you could be speaking at breakfast, or you could be speaking in the bathroom. You could be speaking anywhere and spit mad inspiration and motivation. So I just can't wait for you guys to hear what he has to say. And if you guys do have questions or anything, maybe just put them in the Q&A. Oh no, we don't have Q&A on this one. Just put it in the chat and we'll try and get to it at the end. I do want to respect Matt's time of keeping it to an hour. And yeah, so without further ado, Mr. Matt Jang.
Ooh, what is up? How you guys all doing?
That's good. Oh, and also a reminder, if you guys could all mute yourself.
Perfect.
Including myself. So bye.
Perfect. So, perfect. This will be good, and I'm really excited for this. So Carly had given me a call when I was out in Mexico, and was kind of giving me a little bit of feedback on some stuff that's going on. You want to pop out on a call? I was like, hell yeah, I love it. You guys have been doing some amazing stuff, and so wanted to kind of come on and basically go over a couple different things. Now, we're getting into the end of the year, which is awesome. You know, we got a lot of holidays coming up, time with family, a lot of great time. And the thing that I notice every year, especially in our space, is this is normally the time where, and this is normally the time where most people kind of take a little bit of a break and chill and hang out with the family and kind of chill out a little bit. And this is, I started noticing this pattern. Well, I mean, I'm sure you noticed it all the way growing up, but especially in this space, I started noticing it really heavily because of the fact that a lot of people will say like, oh, like, well, with Facebook and advertising, because all these big companies are marketing, like it's too expensive and all this stuff. And I started noticing that most of my affiliate friends would kind of check out during December and November, which led me with this awesome opportunity with no affiliates marketing at all. And I would go spend 10 times more than I was spending, and I would take up all of it while they're all sleeping, hanging out and having fun. I was going over and going, okay, you guys can all sleep all you want. I'm going to go take up all this traffic that you guys are leaving all on the table, and I'm going to go run with it. And it ended up being the last 2 years now have been two of my bigger months, always in this time where people say it seemingly slows down. You might see my hands are painted. I had Olivia come up to me and she goes, I'm painting my nails. Can I paint yours? And I said, yeah, you know what? I'll let you do it. Why not? So I do have a blue and sparkly pink. I think I'm liking the colors. And I might roll with that from now on. So just because you're wondering. So we get into that time, and what's very cool about this is two things. One, a lot of people are sleeping during this time. So it gives us a unique ability when we know that everyone's kind of sleeping, especially in our space, that we can take advantage of it. And I'll give you guys a little, just so you guys all know, like I'm actively running a lot of traffic right now. I don't know if you guys have seen any of it, but I'm cranking a lot. I'm getting cheaper cost than I ever have ever. So like people saying like, oh, it's more expensive. It's expensive if you're not doing things effectively. If you're doing things correctly and you're following like what Aaron's doing, what Carl, like this, doesn't matter what time of the year. If you're doing things right, like it's going to be good. Like don't ever get into that space. And the thing is when we come into this, so now we're coming into the end of the year, and we got what, 11 more days into the end of the year. So two pieces. One, we're just about to finish up this year. So how many guys already has this year been, and let me know in the chat, has this year already been a better year than last year? Have you been doing better than you have before? And not just financially, but maybe even just personally wise, like I feel better about myself, I feel more confident, and let me know in the comments here if you guys have already felt that. And so it's very, very important that we make sure that we continue this on right till the end. Make sure that, of course, we're going into the times with holidays, with family, with friends. I'm not meaning by any time, like I'm going to take time off as well, and I'm going to go hang out with my family and friends, but it doesn't mean I shut my business off, right? I'm going to take those few days off, and few days off at Christmas, few days off at New Year's, right? But I'm making sure that I always look to get an edge. I always am trying to get an edge. And so in this time, when I know that most marketers are going, oh, it's too expensive or whatever, I'm making sure I'm capitalizing on it. So I'm actually scaling all my stuff up way more. Tyler just put up even doubled my budget for today, and I'm scaling it up right till the end because I know that a lot of people aren't. So I'm going to jump in and take, like when a lot of people zig, I'm going to zag. I'm going to go the other way because I know that there's a lot of opportunity in that. And I want to make sure that I end off my year as powerful as I possibly can. Because that's going to lead into now coming up into this very first year, the beginning of the year, sorry. And so I want to see coming to these things. Yes, I don't even know how many zeros that is. A bazillion, I'll say. Times a zillion, lots of personal growth. Yes, 200% not financial, but as a person, and that's where it starts. I usually all know, like, you don't just make the money, then become a different person. Like the becoming a different person part is where it starts, and then the money starts to follow. So great. If that's where you're at right now, that's the first part of the process, and that's awesome. And you know that 2019 now is going to be the best year ever. Now, as you go through this, one thing that I've always done, and actually, what's actually really funny is I get to open mine. But one thing I've always done is at the beginning of the year and right before the beginning of the year, I write out what I want to accomplish. And so I'm not going to read this right now because I don't get to read it till the beginning of the year. But I write out everything that I want to be able to accomplish in the year. And so mine's like a full 2-page thing. And then I just kind of fold it up and I've left it here throughout the entire year. And it's something that I've done every year for the past probably 3 or 4 years. And how many guys like went through like my vision setting and goal setting exercise, which actually just redid a little bit of it for the newer version. How many guys ever did that where you're going into like the vision setting and goal setting exercise? And you start perfect. Cool. I might talk really, really fast only because when I start talking about this stuff, especially this topic, I get really excited. So if I start talking too fast, please let me know and I'll try and slow it down. Because I will get talking really fast. That's just what happens. Okay, so now, big piece, and this is what's going to be a big point of like basically when I look at that sheet that I just showed you guys right there, I'm going to open that sheet and I'm going to look and I'm going to see that everything on that sheet pretty much I accomplished. I can't even remember all the things that I wrote, but it's happened every year I've done it. The only thing that I regret is that I don't write more things on it and I don't get clearer on the things that I want. Not that I hit everything and it always does, but it's never that, oh, I could have hit this, I could have done that. It's like, man, I wish I got clearer. I wish I written more out. I really wish that I took it more seriously. And so I say that just to encourage you, because I'm going to look at it this year and I'm going to be like, did it again, got to write bigger. And I got to write more. And you keep thinking you're going bigger and then you do it and you're like, could have went bigger again. And so it's something that is really, really powerful to do, is to kind of start to getting to a place of envisioning what your 2019 is going to be like. And the really cool part about doing this like right now is when you start thinking bigger picture about next year, you're going to start, you're not going to like, because you know how big that's going to be next year, this ending of the year is going to be completely different now because you've taken the time to plan that out. You're like, I want to make sure that I do everything I can in these next few days by the end of the month so that I set myself up in the position that I want to be so that 2019 ends up the way that I want, the way that I wrote it out. And so I would really, really encourage you. One, I'm just going to bring this book out. I don't know if you guys have seen this book, if you guys have read it at all. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Every one of you, I would write that down and I would get to this like right away. So you guys have probably heard me recommend Happy Pocket Full of Money. You've probably heard me recommend Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I recommend this over both of those 2 books now. It covers pretty much everything that you're learning in Happy Pocket, except more backed by case studies and broken down more. I found that Happy Pocket sometimes was a little bit over people's head. You had to read it a few times. And Maxwell Maltz, all the studies where he starts talking about how our mind can't tell whether we physically do something or that we imagine ourselves doing something, like all of that stuff in those 2 books is covered in here. And it's covered very, very easily. And it's very, very simple to read. And every single piece, and there's no theory-based stuff. So any of Joe Dispenza's work, none of it is theory-based. It's all, this is a theory I had, so we did a case study. This is what happened in the case study. So it's never oh, I think this is what happens. It's like, we did a full in-depth study and this is the results. And this proves that when you do this, this happens. So for me, I find it a lot easier for me to believe in something when I have like facts and evidence proving and case studies and things like that, rather than someone just kind of saying something and me just having to like trust and believe that what they're saying is true. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I need that for me. So that's why I highly recommend that. Now that's going to get into when we start planning out what this year is and what we want it to look like. Now, when we get into this, the same way, if you guys did whether it's the 90-day vision goal setting exercise or whatever it might be, and since we're going to be talking about 2019 and how we want to make that year, I would do the same thing like what I wrote out there, and I would write it out. So this is a little bit of a different, like this one I put there and I don't open it and I don't read it and I don't touch it for the entire year. I have other things that I'll be writing out for like 90-day goals or longer term visions or things that I want to read every single morning and night. And so for the year, I would write out something that is all encompassing of like, let's say it's, this date, 2019. So it's December 20th, 2019, right? And so we want to date it for that day. And we want to start talking about our year. So we're going to be talking about our year 2019 as if it's already done, right? It's already finished. We've already finished 2019. It's already done. What happened? What happened? How did your business go? How did you grow as a person? What things did you do? Who were you doing it with? What was it like? How did it make you feel? Ultimately, all of this is to get to a point of feeling. It's not the reason why we do a visualization exercise, not just to visualize, is that when we visualize and paint a picture in our mind, it's a lot easier for us to believe it. When we believe it, we start to feel it inside. We start to actually feel as if it's already existed. And so that's the whole point of this, is that when we write this out of what we want our year to look like, it's all encompassing. So if that means like income, what we're wanting to be income wise by the time that is at the end, and why. So not round numbers, right? Not like, oh, I average $10,000 a month, right? And whenever we set income goals, we want to be very, very specific. So we never want to say 10,000. We never want to say 20,000 or 50,000. We want to say like $21,472.63. And the only reason I can get that specific is because I know every single bill that's covering the rent or mortgage or car payment or trips that we're doing or ads I'm spending on my business or mentorship that I'm paying for or events that I'm paying to go to or Disneyland that we're going with the kids or a hockey academy I'm putting my kid in or whatever it might be. Like all of those things. But whatever, any of those things that we're wanting to accomplish, we want to make sure that we get very, very specific on what they are and actually how much they cost exactly, so that when you do get to an income total, it's not a round number. And when it's not a round number, it's because you know every single penny, where it's come from, what it's for, and now you're a lot more emotionally invested in what that is. Does that make sense? Cool. So when we do that, and okay, I'm getting a little, okay, we're good. When we do that, we want to make sure that we're getting very, 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 very specific. And the more specific we can be, the better, because our mind likes specifics. Our mind, it likes tangible things that we can like wrap our head around. It doesn't like vague, ambiguous, like things that we just, it's not clear, right? Ultimately, the point is getting to clarity, to the point where when you write out and you read over this vision for the year and what you're wanting to create, whenever you read it, right? And a good key part, and I put this in the new training, I don't know if any of you guys have gone through any of it yet, but when you write this out, and whether this is a 90-day goal that you write, so I'm going to be talking in frameworks that can be used for, this can be used for a 90-day goal, this can be used a year goal, a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal, like it doesn't matter the time frames, the frameworks are still going to be the same. And so when you write this out, it's something that I first started really doing when I first started working with Cameron. I didn't take this stuff. Are we able to mute Christina? I keep getting a little bit of a feedback there. If I first started doing when I started working with Cameron, and I had done a lot of different ways to like try to make money online or affiliate stuff or like businesses and all these things before, no success, but I had no real mentorship, no real training. And I never really like set goals. I never really visualized, I never did a lot of these things. And Cameron first had me start doing this, and I would write out, and it started as a 90-day goal, and I had written it out. And what he had me do was I wrote out, and it was basically a 90-day, it was a 90-day goal that I wanted to set for myself. And it was basically writing it as if it was 90 days from today, and I was writing it as a journal entry of that day. And I would write it out, and I'm like, okay, I'm in Thailand, and we're at this beautiful place, and we're overlooking the beach, and I get out and I walk along the beach for a bit, and then I come back inside, and I look at my computer, and I log in, I look into my back office, and I see that I just earned over, and it was, at the time, it was like $2,000. You know, all I wanted to make at the time was like $2,000. So I log into my back office and I see I made 2,200 and whatever dollars. And I got so excited because I look back over the last 90 days and I can't believe how easy it was, right? This is where we can start planting things that we want. Do we want it to be easy or do we want it to be hard, right? We want it to be easy, right? So I look back over, what do we want it to be? We want it to be easy. I look back and I can't believe how easy it was. Yes, I put in a lot of work, but this came a lot easier than I thought it was. And as soon as I started really getting committed, everything started falling into place. I started attracting the perfect people that I wanted to work with. My ads just started converting really, really well. And it all happened once it got really, really clear and really, really specific. And now that I've started to understand this, I'm just really excited about the future. And now that I hit this goal, again, once we hit it, right, what are we going to do to celebrate it? We always want to make sure whenever we're setting goals for ourselves that we celebrate all of those wins and reward ourselves. And it doesn't need to be something crazy. It can be like we go on a date night for the night, or I just stay home with the kids for the night, but something to celebrate it. And it doesn't mean you have to spend money. It just means I'm going to celebrate and reward myself for the work that we've done and the work that you guys have done for that. And so as I started doing this, now when I first did that, I didn't hit it right away in my first 90 days, right? But as soon as I did end up going to Thailand, when I read that piece of paper and because I would visualize it every single day, I would visualize me looking out over the balcony and there was this like beautiful bay of the water and like the beach coming in and everything and like the trees around everywhere. And I would read this to myself every morning and every night before I went to bed. So when I actually ended up getting to Thailand, I look out and I'm like this is really weird because I feel the same way that I felt when I was visualizing it, but I'm like, I see the same bay, like the shape of the bay, the shape of the sand, the trees, like everything. I'm like, this is really kind of crazy to me because this is exactly how I kind of envisioned it. And what's really cool about that is you'll start to notice it happen more and more. How many guys have written stuff down like that or ever gone to visualizations or anything like that, and then all of a sudden you like experience it? It doesn't need to be a big thing. It can be anything. It doesn't even just need to be a business, but you might have like seen something in your mind and all of a sudden you see it in real life and you're like, whoa, like deja vu, really, like basically. Well, deja vu is like, it's funny because like deja vu is kind of like us creating that reality when we start seeing things in our mind and we start actually seeing it. Like, it's something that's really, really cool to do. And it's something that I put a very, very big, like a lot of people think I'm just this like really good marketer and I'm really good at writing copy. And I'm not really good at a lot of things. Like I'm not very good at writing copy. I mess up my words a lot. Sometimes I talk too fast. Sometimes I lose my train of thought when I'm in a video and I just start rambling. Like I'm not that great when it comes to the marketing stuff. What I am great at is getting very, very clear on the intention that I want to create and be able to clearly paint a compelling vision of the future. And that's something that I've after practice, I get better and better and better at kind of seeing that. And it's literally just through practice of doing it. That's all it is. And so I would just encourage you whenever you do anything. So right now we're talking about setting the pace for 2019, right? That's at a macro level, right? At a micro level, we can be setting the intention for what we want to see in this video that we create. Or once we create the video, the ad that we put up to it. Or once we put up the ad, the messages that we're going to have with the clients that reach out after that, right? Or once we do that, the calls that we're going to have once we get on the phone with them. Like, you see what I mean? Like this process can be used at every level. We're going macro right now because we're planning out the whole year, but this can be broken down to quarters and going to 90-day sprints. It can be broken down to monthly, broken down to daily, broken down to specific actions that we want to be able to do. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. How many guys saw two of the videos that I have out right now that are really taking off, the law of attraction one and the thoughts create reality one? Have you guys seen those? So this is a perfect example of this. And I did this because I'm working with a mentor right now, and his like main thing that he like I'm doing coaching with him weekly. The main thing that he has me focusing on is my internal energy of anything. And this guy does like, he's in a bunch of different network marketing companies no one even knows, and he's just like one of the top guys in all of them. He's done hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate. He has like one fund that like covers like his living expenses are like 30 grand a month, and he has one investment that just covers that. And then whenever he wants to do anything else, he just creates a new income to cover that. He's like, oh, I want to go snowboarding. It's going to cost me about 25 grand. So I'm just going to make a new income that's going to cover the 25 grand so that I don't have to take it out of any of my other, like super, super smart guy. But what's really funny about it is he's not always talking about the business side and like the technical aspects and like sales things that you can do. It's always about managing his energy and what does he want to create. And it's like literally getting into the feeling of when that does happen. So say for example, 2019, right? When 2019 is done and we're at this day at the end of 2019 and I've accomplished everything that I've written out for that, how am I going to feel, right? And this is whenever we do a visualization, whenever we do gratitude, whenever we do meditation, whenever we do any of this, the whole point of it all is to get to a feeling, right? And so how many of you guys do like a morning routine already right now? And I'd love to see in the comments here, how many of you guys do a morning routine? And it can be comprised of like gratitude or whatever you end up doing, but some sort of morning routine to kind of prime yourself for the day. And if not, I would definitely recommend doing it. But by the sounds of it, it looks like you guys are already doing that. So you guys notice is that before you start your morning routine, how you feel versus when you're done your morning routine, how you feel, right? You notice the difference between those two. And that's really the reason why we do it. What's really cool is, might be a little bit much for this one, but maybe another time when I come on, I can show you like, because how long does it take you guys to do your morning routine? Like if you were to say like your whole morning routine, how long does it take for you guys to do? For me, it ended up taking like 3 hours. For me, it ended up taking about an hour and a half to 2 hours when I wanted to get gratitude, go over my vision and goals, like write out the gratitude to the whole exercise, go over my vision and goals, do a visualization that sometimes I could get trapped in for an hour because I just keep playing this cool little movie in my head. And it can end up taking a long time. And so hour or so, 30 minutes. So maybe on one of the other ones, the whole point is that you guys need to be doing that first. Like I wouldn't be able to do this part if I hadn't done that routine over and over. But what I want you guys, as you guys are doing this, be conscious of the feeling before you do your routine, and then be conscious of your feeling after. And just start noticing the difference. What is the difference? How can you tell when you've done your routine and when you haven't? What's the feeling that's different? Just start being conscious to that, because once you start really getting to know what that feeling is, what's cool is that you can just close your eyes and in a moment, literally encapsulate that feel, like just jump into that feeling. It doesn't need to take an hour. Like the mentor I'm working with, he literally got me to the point of an hour and a half routine. I get it done in 5 minutes and get the exact same feeling. However, the only reason I'm able to do that is because I've done this morning routine and I know the feeling, and I've done it for like 3 years straight. And so you need to do that first. So all of you guys that are doing it half an hour, 2 hours, like keep doing that, because you need to do that and you need to know the difference. The reason why I'm telling you to consciously be aware of this is be aware of how you're feeling before, and then be aware of the difference of how you feel after, right? And so the whole point is like starting to really understand what that feeling is after you're done your morning routine. Or like, because you're going to start to notice you feel a lot better, you feel more grateful, you're more inspired, you're more motivated, you just feel on top of the world and nothing can mess with you, like that feeling. And it's important to be able to consciously be able to tell the difference between when you're feeling slow and lethargic and not as motivated, and then the feeling of when you're on top of the world. And then what you can do is start to kind of just like tap into that. But the main part is like making sure that you're doing that type of a routine so you can start to become conscious of the difference. And then you can start figuring out for yourself like little tricks that you can start to add in. And you're like, oh, when I add this in, it makes me jump to that feeling easier, or whatever it might be. Now, when we're doing this and we're writing out for 2019, and then if you end up breaking it up, that's fine. The whole point of it, and the reason why we want to get so descriptive and we want to use all of the 5 senses, we want to talk about who we're going to be with, where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, all of those things. We want to write it out. The more descriptive that we get, the more it's going to paint a picture clear in our mind of what that's going to be. The clearer that picture is in our mind, the more that it'll trick us into actually thinking that that's happening now, right? And when it tricks us into that point, now our brain can't tell whether we physically do something or whether we're imagining ourselves doing something. So the more clear we can paint that picture, the easier it is to trick our mind that that's actually already happened, right? And so we want to get as descriptive as possible in every little bit. And so when we write that out, you can write it out like briefly at first and then re-go over it and like elaborate on every line and make it like super descriptive. And so it's like, you know how like a novel, when you read a novel and like you read a sentence and it's like so descriptive, like no one talks like that really, but it's super descriptive and elaborate and it paints this picture in your mind. You want to just try and be able to do that for yourself so that you can, the goal is that when you read it, if you were to close your eyes, you can see it, like you can like see it in your mind. Once you can see it that way, it's a lot easier to be able to believe it. And then when you believe it, that's when you get to the point of like actually getting into the feeling. So going into that, I would really take some time on it. And it's not something that I would rush. Don't like just try and go, oh, Jang said to do this and I got to get done now, so I'm just going to rush through and do it. I would really take, like, this will dictate how good or not so good that your year ends up being. The more time, effort, and energy that you put into something, right, the better you're going to get out of it. Now, what I want to do is just assign a little bit of a meaning to this, to assign it like a deeper meaning. Now, how many guys have already gone through some of Joe Dispenza's stuff? Anything. It could be videos or books or anything. And just give me like a yes or a no, and say no if you haven't. Okay, cool. So basically you started doing a lot of different studies, and one of them was specifically to prove that the level of meaning that you assign to whatever it is that you're doing actually influences the result of what you're doing. And so, for example, if you are going to the gym and you assign the meaning of this is just painful and it's boring and like I don't know why I go here and like, oh, whatever, versus you go do the exact same thing at the gym, but your assigned meaning is like, oh, this is really good for me. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to gain muscle. I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to lower my blood, right? So the meaning that you assign to what you're doing will influence the result. Now, I'm going to give you one thing just to add context to this so you guys can really elaborate and see what I mean. What they did, and you guys will see this in potentially Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It might be in there. What they did is they went to a hotel and they saw all these maids that were running around this hotel, and they're running up and down stairs, they're flipping mattresses, they're wiping all the walls, they're doing all this stuff. They're doing more physical activity than what's actually recommended daily, except when he went and met them all after, they're all overweight, every single one of them, like doing way more physical activity than what's recommended to anyone, yet they're all overweight. He's like, no matter what they're eating, this doesn't make sense. Like this, you can't be doing that much physical exercise. Like something's going on here. And so what they ended up doing is they took the maids, they split them up into two groups. They left the one and they left them on their own. They said, hey, just keep doing your job. You're doing great. Awesome. They took the second group and they just went and they go, hey, did you know that you're actually doing more physical exercise than what's recommended daily? It's actually really good for your heart. It's really good for your blood pressure. You'll actually lose weight. Your waist size will go down. You'll feel a lot better about yourself and you're going to have a lot more energy. Right. And so all they were doing was they had a little bit of a chat with them for a while on just assigning a deeper level of meaning to what they were doing, letting them know about all of the benefits, how good it was going to be, what it was going to do for them. And so that by the end of it, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think of that. All I thought was like, I'm at a job that I don't like. And I'm like, fuck, I just want to get out of here. Right. But now all of a sudden they go, okay, so now they have a different meaning to what they were doing. So they let them go to work and they just let them go for 2 months. They came back 2 months later and they ended up finding that the one group that did nothing stayed the exact same. The other group, their waist sizes went down, they lost weight, their blood pressure went down, they felt happier than they ever been, and they all had more energy than they ever had ever. Yet they did the exact same thing. They didn't eat things differently. They didn't do anything different. The only thing different was the assigned meaning they had to what they were doing. So the reason why I bring that up is the assigned meaning to writing out your goals and planning out your vision for the future is going to influence how that exercise is going to work. The assigned meaning to shooting a video is going to influence how that video is going to work. The assigned meaning to putting up an ad is going to influence what results you're going to get in everything. The assigned meaning to every conversation that you have with one of your customers that reaches out. Absolutely everything. It's very, very important to very intentionally establish what you want to create and what you want the outcome to be and what the feeling is going to be after the outcome goes the way that you want it to. And so after 2019 goes the way that you want to, how are you going to feel when that happens? What's going to happen and how are you going to feel? Before you shoot this video, that you're going to put out, right? One, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel knowing that, like, I'll give you an example. The reason why I was coming around to this is this point. So those two videos that I was telling you guys about, the law of attraction one and the thoughts create reality, I had 10 videos lined up that we'd all shot. There were 10 videos ready to post, and I was going to schedule those 10 out to go and post. my coach that I'm working with, I had just gone over this kind of exercise of like him going in to go, okay, before you post this, make sure you set the intention of like, one, like what's going to happen as a result of it, how many people are going to be seeing this, how's that going to make you feel, right? All of these pieces to it. And so what we did was right before we hit post, the videos were already edited, they were already shot. I didn't do any of this before that. I took all 10 videos, I took 2 of them. Those are the 2 that I took. And I took these 2 videos and I went, okay. And I started getting into it. I'm like, man, these are going to see millions of people. Millions of people are going to see these videos. It's going to light them up. It's going to kind of let them see more of what's possible. It's going to be very simple for them to understand. Some people that might have not understood these principles before are going to understand it now. They're going to be really excited about it. It's going to lift them up. Then they're going to come to me and they're going to be messaging me going like, holy fuck, I never got it that way. But like now that you explained it like that, like I get it. Fucking thank you. And that makes me feel really good. So now I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. Like I'm so glad I'm able to provide value like that. And I start getting into it. I'm like, dude, I'm like Dakota. And so me and Dakota are going over this at the same time before we post the videos. We're like, dude, like millions of people are going to see these. It's going to be amazing. Like so good. But just on these 2 videos, I posted all 10, right? These 2 videos outperformed all of the 10 by like 10 times. Like you look at these and it looks like they all look very similar and they're all on very similar frameworks and they're all edited the same kind of way. But these 2 are like night and day difference. Like it looks like this, and then spike way up here. And then the other ones, like it's insane. Over 50% organic reach on all of those. But this is the reason why I'm saying that again is like, whether it's going over my goal for 2019, whether it's the video I'm going to shoot, whether it's the ad that I'm going to put up, whether it's me jumping into Messenger because I know I got a bunch of messages and I got to follow up and talk to them. Maybe it's me getting on the phone. Maybe it's me getting on a webinar with one of my team members. It doesn't matter what it is. But before you start doing any of these things, start consciously getting into the state of like, what do I want the outcome to be? So what's the perfect outcome that I want of anything that I'm doing, right? So if it's an ad, I want it seen by millions of people. I want it attracting the best people ever that are going to come to me. I want to provide value to them. So I want them to get really excited. I want to, if it's a complex principle that I broke down, I want them to be able to understand it very, very easily and then get really excited now that they know this, right? And if it's on the other end and it's on business side, I want to attract people that are hardworking, that are motivated, that are willing to put in the work, that are already positive, that are just really fun too. One of the things for me is like, I want to work with people that are fun, right? And so I get very, very clear on that. Not only what I want to create, but then the next step of it is too, is like, who's the perfect people that I want to be working with, right? And how many of you guys have taken the time to actually write out who your perfect customer is? And say yes or no. I'd like to see the no's as well, just to see how many are where we're at there. Yes, half-assed. And so perfect, and that's fine. And I appreciate the honesty, Tara, because this is like most of the time when I first got started, a lot of things like I would do it because it's like, oh, Cam said to do it. So I did it, but I half-assed it, you know? And then I'm like, my assigned meaning to it was like, he said to do it, so I did it, you know, but I don't really give a fuck. I don't care. And so like, I just did it. But can we see that now? It's like, I wonder why it never worked for me, right? Because I didn't like really take it seriously. I didn't really try hard enough because I didn't have an assigned meaning to what it was going to do, right? And I didn't believe that it was going to do anything of it. I thought it was just like, no, I got to run the ads. The ads are important. Who cares about that part? Like, that's not important. I would very, 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 very much emphasize the fact that it is very, very important to, one, get clear on ultimately what you're wanting to create, but who are the perfect people that you're wanting to create it with? Because that's one piece, what you're going to create it. The next piece, would you want to create your perfect lifestyle of like the business, the money, the lifestyle, but doing it with people like you hated doing it with, that were like super annoying, that would like hound you every day and like always ask you questions that they could have Googled and they're just super annoying? No, right? We wouldn't want that. But if we don't get clear on that, we open up the possibility to attract that because we didn't get clear on it at first, right? Whatever we don't get clear on, we're allowing this open space for anything to fill it. Right? If we get clear, the only thing that can fill that space is what we got clear on. Right? And so we want to get very, very, very clear on all of it. And we want to embody it. And again, the same thing. When I start attracting my perfect customers, how is that going to feel? And what makes this easier, if some of you guys already have people that you work with, that you feel great about, that you're like, fuck, I love this person. They make me feel awesome. Right? If you already have that, just use that as your thing to embody. And if you don't in this business, think about in your life, people that you like love hanging out with, that you just feel really good around, that like make you feel good, that lift you up, that inspire you. Think about them and use that as context. Like imagine if I attracted a bunch of people like them and we're all just like motivated and like bouncing ideas off each other and having a great time and had a lot of fun together too, right? And so like start getting into that feeling of what it's going to be like. And the reason why we add the visualization part is because that tricks our brain more to think that that's real. Now, when we really get into this, I don't want to get like too much into, since you guys don't have as much context to like Joe Dispenza and all that stuff, because I start getting into like, oh man, like we can go deep on like thoughts creating a reality and quantum physics and stuff like that. Like I will geek out on that all day long, but I'm wanting to do this at a level that doesn't like scare you, but like it gets to a point that it's believable. It's something that like you can understand. And that's why I want to use principles that are only like proven by case studies and simple things like that to start with. As we start progressing and going on, you start learning more. We can go deeper and deeper on stuff like this. But I would encourage yourself to get very, very clear on that. So not only on the year, what I'm wanting to plan for the year, but like start putting it into like whenever you shoot a video. Now, before you go shoot your next videos, take the time before it to like go into the intention of like, okay, what's the perfect outcome that I want with this video? How many of you guys have done that before you shot a video before? Okay. We want to make sure that every single one of them, and if you haven't, great piece to do it. Because again, if we don't get clarity on that, what do we allow for? Anything can fill that, because we didn't say what we wanted. We were open. We were just like, I'm gonna shoot this video. Who knows what happens, right? I'm guilty of this too, right? I did this. The only reason I can like say this with such certainty now is because I didn't give a fuck about any of this shit before, and none of it worked, and never did anything that I wanted. And then once I started getting clear on like what I wanted to create, who I wanted to create it with, what it was gonna look like, how it was gonna make me feel, and then all of a sudden it started happening exactly how I had, like exactly the feeling that I had. And that's the main part. It didn't always, like when I visualized, it didn't always come out visually the exact way that I visualized it. But the feeling that I got when I visualized it was exactly the same as the feeling that I had when it actually happened every time. And so we want to start getting into those feelings more than anything. So we want to get into that feeling before we ever touch a computer, before we ever touch a camera, before we ever touch an ad, before we ever touch a message. We want to make sure that we're very, very conscious of how we're feeling right now. Because how many times have you gone to work maybe and your boss pisses you off and you get in a bad mood, or like someone says something to you and then you come home and you're in that state. But then you go, for me, I would go like right into writing ads or like posting up a video. And like you can tell like even that I'm pissed off in the video, or like even if you can't tell, like the thing is like the subconscious tells, we don't really notice. But like when you're in that feeling, you ever talk with someone and they might be saying all the right things, but you're like, I don't know, I have a weird feeling about this person. I don't feel good about it, or I feel like angry, or feel this or that. You feel something. You can feel like however they're feeling inside, whether you're in tune with it or not, you'll start to get little feelings of it. And you'll just kind of be like pushed off by it, because you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on with this person, but they're saying the right things. I don't know. I get a weird feeling. Everyone gets that, and some people are a lot more in tune than others. Some people kind of it's drowned out a bit more. But especially as you start practicing stuff like this more, you'll start being attuned with it a lot more, and you'll start noticing it with a lot of other people, and you'll see it. And so one of the things that we need to be conscious of is like what state are we in before we touch anything. So even writing out this 2019 goal, what state are we in, right? I would take the time to just sit with ourselves for 5-10 minutes and start to like, okay, what does it look like if 2019 December, this day, right, everything that I've like thought of that I wanted to do happened. So I brought my husband home, or I was able to go and travel with the kids, or I was doing this, or I was doing that, and my business went and did this. I attracted all these amazing people. I went on all these cool trips. I put my kid through this hockey camp, or this or that, whatever it might be for you. Like you guys, every one of you have different things that you want to accomplish. But let's imagine for a second that like that was done already, right? How does that feel? It feels amazing. You feel on top of the world. We're like, oh my God, it works. It did it. I feel so proud of myself. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like I feel great. Now you take that into writing out your 2019, right? And so same thing as like before you shoot a video, before you shoot an ad, but you get very, very clear on that. How many of you guys if you guys saw that video, and it's a lot of it pretty much verbatim from Joe Dispenza, where I talk about like your thoughts lead to your choices, lead to your behavior, lead to experience, lead to your emotional response. Right? You guys all heard that one? So very, very, the reason why, so he breaks that down very, very simply. You're going to learn a lot of that verbiage and that language inside of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself when you read it, and he breaks it down even a lot deeper than obviously anything that I've gone over. But what you'll start to see is like when we're writing out this vision of 2019, that's your clear vision, your compelling vision for the future, basically. And whether that be for the year, whether it be for 90 days, whether it be for none, whatever it might be, you're taking a clear vision for the future, right? And then what we want to do is we couple it with an elevated emotion like of gratitude, right? Gratitude being like the most powerful thing. So if we go into the year, right, and what it's going to be like, and we couple it with gratitude, how grateful are we knowing that happened, right? Because what we start to do now is normally an emotional response like gratitude only happens after the experience. Like normally, like something happens in your life and you're like, oh, wow, like I feel awesome now that thing happened. So our brains are naturally wired to, we only feel those things after the experience happens, right? So when we start visualizing of a compelling vision for the future and we couple it with gratitude, it tricks our mind into thinking it's already happened, because the only other way we've ever experienced an emotional response was after an experience, right? So when we start doing that, we now start triggering completely different thoughts as if that experience already happened, right? And so now that will trigger the new choices, behaviors, experiences, and new emotional responses. But now instead of like, you guys hear me talk about the whole part where we have 90% of the same thoughts that we had yesterday, right? Which is recreating a very predictable future based on the past. Versus this way, when we're taking a clear, compelling vision of the future, coupling it with gratitude, we're now pulling from the future rather than recreating from the past. Okay, so this is going to influence everything. This will influence the ads, the videos, the communication with your people, everything that you end up doing. And what I would do is, as you start doing this and everything that you end up writing out, when you start noticing any of those things happen, so like you write out, maybe you write out what your perfect customer is, and the next customer you end up getting ends up being exactly like that. Note that down. Go like, see, I attracted one of my perfect customers. Like, you want to mark down every time you start seeing this, because what that's going to do is it's going to stack evidence, right, to prove that this is actually how this works. Because right now, up until this point, if we're not doing this, the only reason we wouldn't be doing this is because the evidence that this isn't true is higher. Our evidence throughout our life is higher than the evidence that says it is true. And so we're only, if you imagine it as a scale, and our whole life we've stacked evidence on the world happens to me and I have no control and things just happen and there's nothing I can do about it. And so when I come on and I tell you about whatever, you're like, no, buddy, I got all this evidence proving that what you're saying is fucking bullshit. And that's not the way it works, right? But if you keep going, oh, damn, like, okay, I attracted the right customer. Oh man, I did that and the ad started working. And then you tip the scale the other way. That's when it starts to really overflow. And so we need to make sure that as this process starts going and as we start getting clear and clear on what we want and we start seeing it happen, that we jot it down and we make sure we acknowledge the fact that it happened, because it didn't happen randomly. Like nothing happens randomly, like everything happens perfectly and it happens on purpose. And sometimes it might be very hard to be able to see how something's serving you. And a lot of like, sometimes it's not a good thing. Like sometimes bad things happen to us to serve us because it's a lesson that we need to learn or something that we had to go through. Like I've had so many things that I don't want to happen to me and I don't wish to happen to anyone else. And like when I think about what I want to create, like I don't want these things to happen, but because of those things happening, I've had realizations about myself. I've seen different ways that I can prevent those things from happening. Like I've learned so much about, like you learn more about the things that go wrong, right? And the things that don't work your way. And so when you see those things again, if we can always look at, because the thing is in 2019, if this is going to be your biggest year yet, you're going to also have your biggest problems yet. Right? So this is the thing that happens is you're going to have both, right? There's always the balance of the positive and the negative. And so when we look at that, the only thing that's different is how we handle those. Right. So like if I were to look back, if it was 5 years ago and I were to look at some of the problems that I deal with today, I would lose my mind. And I'd be like, there's no way I can handle this. This is insane. But as we continue to grow, to experience the highest of highs, we're going to experience the lowest of lows and they're going to come. But beforehand, when we would experience these things, we usually don't handle them the right way, and we usually allow them to completely overrun our entire life. And all of a sudden, this bad thing is the worst thing in the world, and it completely takes us over, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's like, oh my God, right? And then we start recreating and creating more of that. Where once you start understanding and looking at all of these negative things, or seemingly, I shouldn't even say negative, seemingly negative things, and you can look at them as like, you know what? I didn't want this to happen. It doesn't feel good. But what if I can put my emotions to the side now for a second? How in any way, shape, or form could this be serving me? And it might not be in the moment of time of something like that happening. You might not be able to see it because you might be clouded by emotions or like other things that are happening. You might be frustrated or angry, upset. And so you might need to take a little bit, but start looking at it from that framework of like, what possibly could I have learned from this, right? And if we can start looking at it, because when we look at these big audacious goals that we want to create in 2019, right? Could this bad thing have happened? Like this lesson that I'm learning from this thing that's happening right now that I seem like I don't want, is that going to allow me to get to my goals that I'm wanting to hit in 2019 faster now that I know that, now that I've learned this, right? Again, and ways to like stack up evidence proving that, because those things are going to happen. And it's not about creating a reality where the negative things don't happen. It's more so creating a system for ourselves to be able to handle those things when they do, because they're going to happen. But I look at things that used to set me off for like a month beforehand, and like I have things that are way bigger than that happen now, and it's done in 15 minutes or 5 minutes, and then it's done and it's gone, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I would take like so much smaller things before, and it would just completely ruin my whole day, month, week. It would go on forever, right? And so you're going to be exactly building strength, Carly, 100%. And so the reason why I'm even bringing that part up is because when we go into our like big vision of the future, we can't like create these unrealistic expectations that we're just going to like have all these amazing things happen, and that's all that's going to happen is just these great things. It's going to be unicorns and rainbows, and we're all going to be just eating ice cream and whatever. Like it's not going to happen, and it's not. So I just want to make sure that like I'm very clear on that. It's not going to happen, but it's perfect. We don't want that to happen, even though we think we might think that we do. Sorry, I'm gonna put this back down here. We might think that we do, but we don't. If we never had those things, so if we set these big goals and we just hit them, like you don't learn anything from winning. You don't learn anything from things going well. We learn from trying something that doesn't work, or from having this experience that happens that completely went the wrong way and it was awful and didn't work. Like that's where we learn. We want those things to happen because that's what allows us to learn and grow. We don't want our life to be easier. We want us to be better. Right? So we don't want our life to be easier. We want us to be better. And so we want to be able to, whenever those things happen, just taking time. How many of you guys meditate already? And just in here, if we say yes or no on here, and if not, totally cool. Thought it was the weirdest shit ever when Cameron was telling me to do it forever, and I never listened. I was like, man, that sounds stupid. I'm not going to do it. In the shower, right? What's funny is like everyone meditates. You ever sit in the shower or like sit on in the bathroom and all of a sudden you start getting these ideas or like these things? It's because you're not focused on anything else. And for one of the very few times in your life, you're actually being present. And so people naturally do it in the shower and in the bathroom all the time. They just don't know that's meditating. They just think like, oh, why do I just get all these ideas? So like these things just come to me and like all that's all it is. It's calming our mind down enough. And so when we are on our journey on this 2019 to create the biggest year that we've had yet, not only for ourselves, but for all of the amazing ladies that we're working with and everyone else that we're working with, we know that things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. Ads aren't going to go the way that they are, right? So we know that. We know it's happening, right? It's not a surprise when it happens. Right? We know these things are going to happen. So if we know these things are going to happen, we just need to make sure that we set up some sort of little system for us to be able to handle those things when they do happen. For me, whenever I have something happen, normally, if I were to go back a few years, very, 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 very reactive. I don't know if any of you guys share the same way, but like something could happen and it's just boom, I'm off. I'm like, wow, what the hell? Why is this happening? And I would be very reactive. From the moment the thing happened to my reaction was like instant. Okay. versus something happening and then me taking time to just sit with it for a second. Let me just take a second here before I react and blow my lid. Let me just think about this for a second, right? And so we start thinking, and you start really thinking about it. Okay, well, and then I started getting into the process of just, especially if it was seemingly negative, I would start asking myself, like, before I react, how does this serve me? How could this possibly serve? And I didn't always see the answer. It was like, it doesn't serve me at all. There's no way this serves me. But just practicing, just asking myself that question gave me a space between the experience and my reaction. And so the farther I can kind of separate that out, the more I can allow myself not to get emotional and emotionally react to something, and instead be able to clear my head and make a conscious decision of what I was going to do. And so this is why like meditation is really, really powerful, because that's what you're practicing every single time you go and meditate. You have all these distractions. There's kids, there's husbands, there's people everywhere. There's all these things that are calling your attention. And you're like sitting with yourself, nothing else exists, calming your thought. And so the more we can start practicing that, the more that in our daily lives, when we have things come up, especially if you guys have kids, which I'm sure most of you, a lot of you guys do, like it could be like, anything could possibly exist with kids. Like so many random things that you could have never thought possibly could happen now exist because they just come up with it's crazy, right? So if we got to start to like understand this and get this, right? Now it's like, instead of reacting right away to it, especially with kids, because whether we think they understand us or not, they are taking in absolutely everything that we do and everything, and they don't listen to what we say, they listen to what we do. So when they see us react, they start to react, right? And when they see us yell, they'll start to yell. When they see us be calm, they'll start to be calm, right? When they start yelling and you just start whispering and you start just talking really low, so they can't even hear you unless they stop yelling, right? And so like little different things where meditation will help a ton with this, but it will help just in everyday life when we start going through it and seeing these things. And so big piece is, where are we? Oh man, I'm sorry, we can go late on this. So let's try and circle back around. So on 2019, hopefully by that little piece, I can give you a little bit of a sign meaning, and I'll give you another piece to hopefully maybe just deepen this a bit. How many guys have heard the story when I talk about like, what would we get an example? Oh, like Carlson winning that fitness competition. Did I ever told you? Have I told you guys all that? And he wins a fitness competition. He would visualize it every single morning and every day. And if you haven't, just say no, but like might be able to add context to that. No. Okay, so this is how I learned the visualization exercise. And the funniest part about this, I had no idea that it came from this dude. It came from Joe Dispenza. I had no clue. I've been doing this like for a while and had no idea where it actually came from. And so Carlson's telling me this whole thing, and he's going through the story, and he basically, what he did was he was learning all this personal development, and he was like really learning about our minds and how we're consciously creating a reality, and he was learning all this stuff, and he wanted to be able to put it into practice in a space that he'd never been in before. Now he played football, but he had never been like shredded, like fitness model kind of looking like. And so he's like, hey, there's a fitness model competition in like 2 years or a year. It's every year, but I'm going to set for like 2 years or something like that. I'm going to go train out and for it. And he lives in California, which, I mean, the population of California is 2 million more than the population of Canada. So like the competition is ridiculously high, and he's never been in the space before. And he would literally go and he found a picture of someone that he wanted to model their body. Like he's like, this is the body that I want to look like. He had it on his wall. He would see it every day. And then he would take this compelling vision that he wanted to create. And him, basically for him at this point, it was him winning this competition. And so it was him, and he would visualize himself walking up on the stage. They're announcing, your 2014 champion, Eric Carlson. He would walk out on the stage, and he would get out there, and then once he would face the audience, and then at that point, he would just open his eyes and he'd be in his room, right? He's just visualizing. And he would do that every morning when he woke up and every night before he went to bed. Now, he didn't just do that and then eat donuts and, go eat chocolate and candy all the time. He worked out a lot. He ate really healthy. He did a lot of like other pieces to this. But this is one of the things that he did every morning and every night, to the point where, it comes to the competition. And he's going over and it's like, is your 2014 champion, Eric Carlson. He goes out on the stage and he's standing up on the front of the stage and he just sits there for like 5 minutes awkwardly because he's trying to like open his eyes to make him like go back to his bed where he visualizes, because he thinks he's in his bed visualizing right now. Like, and he's just like, he stands there super awkward in front of all these people on the stage because he thinks he's going to wake up in his bed. And then he's like, oh, fuck, I'm actually here right now. Like, and it's like, what? Because he'd seen it so many times every morning and every night. He just thought he was just doing it again. Right. And he was just running through it again. And that's normally where he woke up, was the point of him, he's staring at the stage. Right. And so he's like, oh my God. And he's telling me the story. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. So we go to the event and I see Cameron and Dakota speaking on the stage. And for me at this point, I am so shy. Like, I am the guy that, like, he comes to the event and he sits in the corner as you guys are talking and like kind of creepily like listens into your conversation, but doesn't like add to the conversation at all. Like I was super nervous. I'm very shy at this point. Like I felt like I bottled this all up when I was a kid, and I'm like making up for it now by being like super fucking out there and talking a lot because I never did it growing up. And so very, very shy. Don't want to talk to anyone because I'm just scared that they're like not going to like me or like think I'm stupid or like whatever. I had all these weird things in my head that I would think. And so I'm looking up at Cameron on stage and I'm like, wow, this guy's so confident and like so just like calm, confident. He's funny. I'm like, I wish I could do something like that, but I'm like, you know what? That's so far out of my comfort zone because I'm so like shy. I'm like, I'm gonna do that. I don't know how, because that scares the shit out of me just looking at him right now. But but I'm gonna set that. And Carlson was just telling me the story, so I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And I would visualize myself walking about on the stage, and that they would announce me. I knew the song that I wanted to play when they announced me. It was what was it? No Sleep by Wiz Khalifa. It's like no job and no sleep. And it's like all about like all this funny stuff. And so I'm like, that's what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna go out. And so I would literally every morning, and I had it written out. And I would every morning when I first woke up. The reason why we do this morning and night is like your mind is the most impressionable to information when you first wake up and when you first go to bed. You know, when you wake up and you kind of feel like you're still asleep, kind of like at that point is the perfect time to be reading this, because all the conscious programs of us like, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, this is impossible, I can't do this. That shit's turned off when you're in that state. You're too groggy, so it just bypasses it and goes through, and you'll accept that it's truth. Like your subconscious is actually it's pretty dumb actually when you think about it. It's very dumb. It doesn't know what's good, bad, right, wrong. It doesn't know anything. So if any information can bypass your conscious, your subconscious just takes it in. The thing is, we have our conscious mind as a gatekeeper. And the conscious mind is the one that's a lot of us thinking that like, oh, I've had all the experiences that show that I'm not smart because look at all these tests I had in school that proved that I wasn't smart and my teachers told me I wasn't smart. And that's our conscious mind that's stacking up all that evidence trying to say that we don't do this. But then we also have the subconscious part that reinforces it a lot because we start acting on those things. We can only think about so many things consciously. Our subconscious takes in everything else. And so when I went to do that, I go out and the same kind of thing. And I would visualize it every morning and every night. And I go out to do this and I'm about halfway through my speech. And all of a sudden it's like, I felt like I just like entered a movie or something. Because I just like, all of a sudden it was like, everything was there, but all of a sudden everything got so much brighter and the colors got brighter. And it was like almost everything just turned to HD. And I was like, whoa. Like, what's going on here? And all of a sudden it was like the pillars on the background, like on the back of the wall. You ever been in like conference rooms where the back's kind of like columns that go along the wall? And I could see those, the seating arrangement, the pattern on the carpet, the stage, like everything was exactly how I'd kind of like seen it. And I'm like halfway through, almost like Carlson's thing. I just kind of like, as I'm like gazing and looking around, so there's a recording of this, and I'm halfway through and I just stop and I just start like gazing around, super quiet, not saying anything, super awkward in front of all these people. And I'm like, this is so surreal. And then I kept going, but like, that's what happened in that moment in time. Was like, oh my God, this is exactly, there's a couple details that weren't the same, but the thing that was the same was the feeling that I had. I'm like, I've had this feeling every single day for the last year and a half. Every time I've gotten up in the morning and right before I go to bed, right? I've had that and I'm like, this is insane. And so for me, because I've had so much evidence stacking, proving to myself that I used to have more evidence proving that this stuff doesn't work. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. The world happens to me. I have no control. But after I kept seeing experiences like this, it's now just tipped these scales completely to the point where like I even have like on my arm, I'm the deliberate creator of my own reality. And as soon as I got that on my arm, the weirdest thing is that like I have to be very careful now. And like Caitlin will bug me now because I like to joke around a lot. So I'll joke about things that I don't want to happen, but I'm just joking. I'm like, oh, it'd be funny. But I do it and it fucking happens all the time now. And so like Caitlin gets like, she's like, stop. Like, and will legitimately get angry at me being like, stop doing that. Like, you're gonna like, we know this happens. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop. But I'm so used to just like joking around and doing that it's tough. And so there's one time and another. And again, the only reason I'm telling you all these stories is like, hopefully this can assign a deeper level of meaning to you. So we go in the airport and she knows that she's already at this point where like, she didn't know, like when we first started getting together, she didn't like understand, like she's one of the only people that like really gets to see this. And so it blows her away more than everyone. Cause I talk about it and everyone's like, no, really? And she's like, no, I'm fucking serious. Like I'm around him all the time. And like, this is what happens all the time. Everywhere we go into the airport and she's just bugging me about something. Like we always just like bug each other back and forth. She's bugging me about something. I'm like, you better watch out. We're in the airport. I'll put you on the blacklist. She's like, don't say that. Don't. Like, I'll do it. And we walk up. We better stop. We walk up. There's a big fucking sign. And I've never seen this in an airport. It's just a white piece of paper that says blacklist. Right. And I'm like, look at, I'm like, I told you. And she's like, stop. And I'm like, just stop bugging me. And I won't do it. Right. And so we keep walking through. And we get to the part and they write SSSS on her card. Have you ever got that as a boarding pass? Do you know what SSS is? It's the security check that they do. They give you an extra check. So she gets that. She's on the thing. She's walking. She turns and looks at me like she turns and looks with the most angry face. Like, you asshole! You just totally did this without even doing it. But it's like these are things that just happen all the time, and it's funny when you can start like playing around with it and doing it. And the reason why I'm saying this, one, to assign more of a meaning, so that hopefully you'll do this more, but like before you shoot a video or before you write your goals or before you talk to somebody or before anything that you do, you get into the state of like, what do I want to happen? What is the perfect outcome that I want to happen from this goal that I'm setting out? What is the perfect outcome that I want from this video, from this ad that I put up, from this message that I'm messaging someone with, from this phone call that I have, right? We want to get very clear on like the outcome that we want to happen. And then how is that going to make us feel when it happens? And really play around with it until the point that you actually like feel as if it already happened. So like when you're doing that exercise in the morning or at night, if you sit down and do that exercise and you get up the same person that sat down, you didn't do anything. Okay. You need to, if you sit down, how many of you do your routine or go over your gratitude? Perfect example. You guys all do the magic, right? And you notice like when you sit down to do it and you write the exercise versus once you finish the exercise, how you feel, right? That difference in feeling, that's what you want to have whenever you're going to meditate. If you get up from meditation, the same person as you sat down, you didn't do anything, right? Same thing with visualization or anything. Like when you're getting into like what you want to create, you want to get up. So you don't really want to get up until you've changed that feeling. You've gotten to a different state. You feel really good and you feel great. And that's what you're going to create. So like we don't get what we want. We get who we are. And our external reality is just a reflection of what's going on the inside. And so when we can start to be in tune with how we're feeling, because what we'll notice, and you guys might notice this, because I noticed it a lot, because I would get angry a lot. Like I as a kid, I actually went to anger management when I was in like grade 4. I would get very, very angry and I was very reactive to things. I didn't allow myself to take time to think. I just react and I get mad. I would notice that I would get angry when my ads didn't work when I first started, and I was like just spending money on ads and nothing was working. And I would get very angry, and then I would get angry, and then I would go post more ads, And then I just found that I kept, the ad wouldn't work, and it just made me more angry. It was like this perpetual feedback loop, but I was causing it. It's like there's the cause and effect rule, like you've heard of the law of cause and effect. All right. When you go through breaking the habit of being yourself, he starts breaking down the quantum model. So that's the Newtonian model, like like Newton's, a lot of his laws of physics and the law of cause and effect and a lot of these things. So cause and effect is there's something that happened, and then all of a sudden it's like, now you get a feeling from it. Like something externally happened and then you start feeling from it. Whereas like the quantum model is you are causing an effect versus cause and effect. So we are now causing an effect. We are now consciously creating the world around us versus the world around us happening that's creating us, right? So they can both happen simultaneously, but we can be the one that kind of changes that. And so instead of looking at it as like, oh, it's the ad that made me mad, you know what I mean? Like the ad went wrong and that's what made me mad. No, like we were mad and then posted the ad, and then we're basically, whatever feeling that we have is what we are saying that we want every day. So if we feel angry at any point in time, what we are saying and what we are putting out and what we're going to create, we're saying that like, I love being angry. Please give me more things for me to be angry about because I just love it so much. Or I'm sad. Please just give me more things to make me sad. I just want to be sad all day. Please give me more of them. That's what we're saying the longer we hold that in. So like when we're consciously thinking of things that make us happy, this is why gratitude works so well. Because how do you feel when you get over things that you're grateful for? You feel amazing. You feel so good. You're like, wow, I feel amazing. This is awesome. I feel great. And then what do you notice? You go about your day and you're like, man, I had the greatest conversation with this person, and this went well, and this was cool. Like, because what our feeling is the energy that we held is what we ended up creating and attracting in our reality. I find it so hilarious that every time I move my hands, I keep seeing the nails, and I'm like, how does anyone take me seriously when I have fucking nail polish on my hands right now? No, trust me, I heard this dude with nail polish tell me I'm consciously creating my reality. It's like, oh man, all right. So hopefully with that, if all you get out of this is to more just in tune to when we're thinking about what we want to create, how does it make us feel? I think if we really get into that and we really get into the feeling and we start, if we don't know what that feeling is, then I would look back into our life at experiences that we've had that we felt amazing, that we felt better than ever. And it could be as a kid, it could be as a young adult, it could be anything, but anything where we feel just amazing, we feel on top of the world, we feel really, really good. And we want to start using that as kind of like an anchor point, because now you can say right now that maybe you don't have any experiences right now where you feel that amazing, but you can look back throughout your life, and everyone has some experience in their life that they can look back and they go, oh, you know what, I felt great. And if you need to use that, imagine that experience. Maybe it's you, I don't know, in dance class as a kid, and you did this thing and it was amazing and you felt so good. Like, visualize that thing, because it'll make you have that feeling again, right? And then you'll start to remember what that feeling is more, the more you can start getting into those things. So even if you don't currently have an experience, or you're having a tough time thinking about like, well, I don't know what that'll feel like, this is where we want to make sure that we use our imagination as much as possible. And how we can add to it is by looking at experiences that we had in our life that we did feel really good, that we felt really, really amazing. We felt awesome. We felt better than we ever had. Right? And we start imagining that experience because we know what that was. And we can probably paint the picture and like see it like a movie in our mind, right? So do that a few times so that you can remember what that feeling's like again. And then now when you think about the compelling vision of the future, it's going to feel something similar to that, right? You can kind of tie them together, right? And use them both. And so that when we can get into those, we know what the feeling is. And so when we go over this goal of 2019, we want to, before we do it, think about everything that we were wanting to create, how amazing it's going to feel when we get it done, and how cool it's going to be knowing that we literally create our perfect life. Like, we got to very specifically and intentionally create the perfect life, and whatever that means to any of you. Like, for some people it's money, for some people the money doesn't even matter. It's like, I just want more time with my family, I just want to like travel with them and do these, like whatever it is to you. It doesn't need money. Like, happiness, that's all it is. What makes you the happiest ever? Like, when I say perfect reality, it's like, what's the reality that makes you the happiest? And if you think it's money, it's not going to be money. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Money's not going to make you happy. it's going to be like the experiences that you have with your family. It's going to be the friendships that you make. It's going to be the places that you travel to, or the things that you do. It's going to be the experiences more than anything, or your ability to like help and serve other people, and they come back to you and they're like, oh my God, because of what you did. Like some of you right now are going to map out your 2019. And when we come back around next year at 2019, you're going to have people that are going to be coming to you that are like, so because of what you did right now on the call, and then after, and mapped out, you're going to have hundreds if not thousands of people that even if they don't join your business, they might see one of your videos because you're doing a $1 a day strategy, you're providing value, and they go, you know what, this isn't for me, but like I saw your video and that inspired me to go do this thing. Like, thank you so much for doing that. Like this is what's really, really cool is like, as you start doing it and you start stacking the evidence, proving that you are worthy, you are good enough, you are worthy of success, you all deserve all of this, and you start seeing evidence of it happening, and you are going to attract amazing people that you love to work with that are super fun, and things just start flowing more effortless and easy. What's fun is it kind of like exponentially grows. Like it's kind of harder at first, but then the more evidence you stack, the easier and easier and easier and easier and easier it gets. Just like anything, like the more you run ads, you know, like you just get better and better and better. The more you go to the gym, the more you hit your mic, the more you do anything, you get better and better. And so I would just really take the time to get very, very, very clear on what does it look like? What's the perfect reality? What is 2019, like the best 2019 that could have possibly happened? What does that look like? And as descriptive as possible. And then if you want to, you can break those down into, okay, what does first quarter of 2019 look like? What is second quarter? What is third quarter? What is fourth? And so you can break those down, and you can break them down to monthly if you want to, and break them down to weekly. Like you can go above and beyond, but at least the bigger picture of 2019. And then the feeling, what is it going to feel like when you've accomplished that, when you've done all of those things? How is that going to feel? And then the next part, who is your perfect customer that you're going to be attracting, perfect customers that you're going to be attracting? Are they fun? Do they like to travel? Do they have kids too? Do they want to do this? Like, what do they like? Like how are they positive? Are they uplifting? Are they motivating? Like getting very descriptive on who they are. Not so much like they're this age and they're male or female and they're this, but more so like who are they as a person, right? Like what are their characteristics that they have? And so when you think about it, get really clear on those things, because they're going to be the ones that allow you to create the bigger picture and the big vision. And so we want to get clear on what that big vision is, and we want to get clear on who are the people that we're going to be doing it with. And then we want to get into what is the feeling knowing that we get to work with them every single day. And then whenever so once we're clear on all of those things, okay, we're clear on the vision of what we want to create over the year, and then maybe we've broken it down to quarters or months or weeks or days, however much we want to break it down. We've gotten clear on the person that we're wanting to attract and the people that we're wanting to attract and the people that we're going to be working with, and how that's going to feel when we're working with them and we feel awesome. We have so much fun together and we're always hanging out and we're like best of friends that it's just amazing, right? How does it make us feel? And then now all of a sudden those two pieces are going to influence every video, every ad, every conversation you have, every message, every phone call, every piece of copy that you write, every post you put out, everything. And it's always coming from that place. I am doing this video because I'm going to attract this perfect person or these perfect people that are going to allow me to create this perfect vision. That's why that video is going on. This video, I'm placing this ad again. Why? Because of this vision that I'm wanting to create and the people that I'm wanting to attract, that it's going to allow me to get there. Now, every single piece now, we're not just doing the ad to do the ad. We're not just shooting the video to shoot a video. We're not just going into messages just because we have to go into messages, right? We're going to make sure that we're very conscious of how we're feeling in that state. And we know that we have an assigned meaning to what we're doing. It's not like, oh, I'm just doing a video because they told me to do a video. It's like, man, if I do this video, I'm going to attract all of these people. I'm going to find my perfect customer. I'm going to work with them. They're going to be amazing. We're going to be able to create this amazing business. I'm going to be able to bring my husband home or my boyfriend home. I'm going to be able to travel around with the kids. We're going to do all these things. Holy shit, this is fucking crazy. Now I do the video, right? Versus just kind of like aimlessly doing it. The more time we can take to consciously intend on like what we want the outcome to be and what the feeling is going to be when we do it, the better you'll start to see this. And then as you're doing this, every time you notice something like, oh man, see, like there's the perfect customer. Oh man, see, that video went way better than it normally does. Or this one, any piece of evidence you can stack to support that this is working and this is true, stack that up. Because right now, if you're struggling with it, your scales are probably tipped. to evidence supporting that the world happens to me, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, all this stuff. So we want to stack the evidence to I am good enough, I am smart enough, I am deserving of this, I am worthy, I do attract amazing people. Look at I am getting, my ads are getting better, this is happening. Like all of the positive things that we want to create, we want to make sure that we acknowledge all of them, we write them all down, we celebrate them, celebrate all of the little things, even the seemingly little things. It could be your first lead, it could be your 100th lead, it could be your 10,000th lead, it could be your first, like any little thing. Like we want to make sure that we celebrate them. And if you guys do this, you guys are already making a ton of moves. You guys have one of the most amazing groups in the whole organization. You have a super supportive community. Like you guys have the perfect group to be running with and doing this. You guys ever need help with anything, like you have all the support you possibly need. You have a group of amazing women. I don't know how Aaron is so lucky to attract all you guys, but you guys got an amazing group. And so when you guys get really clear on all of this, you have all the support to be able to help out with this. I hope you guys are all as well taking the 1-minute video strategy very, very seriously, because it's really, really powerful when you start getting into it. So when you get a clear vision of the future and what you're wanting to create, you get a clear vision of who the perfect customers are that you want to be working with and what it's going to feel like when you have all of that. And then you start doing the 1-minute video strategy and you start retargeting those. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Like some of you are going to have, again, everyone's starting at a different point. Some people are starting at chapter 1. Some people are starting at chapter 7. Some people have way more programs than others, depending on how old you are. You've had programs that are installed for a lot longer than others. Like for me, I'm 27. So like they've been installed for 27 years. And I've always had, like, if I had someone that come up to me that's 37 or 47 or 57, they have 10, 20, or 30 years of their programs being installed longer. So it might be a little bit more work to work on those things, right? And so we just know that as we're going through this. And so I want to make sure that hopefully, and I'll answer any questions at the end here. So I just want to make sure that by the end of this, there's an assigned meaning to doing this. There's a reason why this is really the only part that I talk about. I don't so much talk about the ads. I don't so much talk about, a lot of the strategy stuff. If any of you ever see me at a mastermind, like that's usually never the conversation. It's 99% of the time, it's what's going on up here, because that influences everything else. Like that's the big part. And a lot of us have things, including me. We just have experiences in our life that basically we have events that happen that we create these stories that we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we don't deserve this, or we don't, or whatever. And we make up all these bullshit stories about ourselves that really aren't true because of events that happen. Like an event happened when we're 0 to 8, and we make up this crazy story about what happened, and then we relive that story throughout the rest of our life. And you might notice that for me, mine was I'm not smart enough. And I let that run me forever. And my evidence was stacked high because all the way through school, see, this test didn't work, and this didn't work, and this didn't work, and I sucked at this, and I failed this class, and my teacher said I wasn't going to amount to anything, and this and that. So my evidence just kept stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking until I consciously went and started to look in it and go like, okay, well, wait a second. This is just an event that happened when I was a kid, and I answered a question and got the question wrong. Does that mean I'm stupid? Does that mean I'm not smart? Like, no. But as a kid, it's like this crazy big thing that happened that means that I'm not smart now. And that's the story I'd tell myself for the rest of my life, right? And so there's a lot of times, like every single one of you guys has a genius. Every single one of you has a genius, and it's in a different area, and it's unique to you. And you'll notice it in different areas. And it could be a genius in being a mom. It could be a genius in it could be a genius in so many different ways. And as we start going through this, what you're going to start to do, the more you start consciously putting intention on what you want to create, and you start seeing it happen, it's going to stack evidence showing that this is true, that you can do this, which is going to build up confidence in yourself, knowing that you can learn these things, you can get this stuff done, you can figure this stuff out. And so I would encourage you, like every little bit that you get, every little thing that you end up learning, like that's a win. Like celebrate all of your wins. Every little thing that you learn, every little thing you learn in a book or an audio or a podcast or a training video that you go through or a webinar like this, like every little bit, I learned that, like that's a win. Celebrate that. Like I'm getting a little bit better. It's not about being like, it's not about doing 1,000,000 hours of work in a day. Like, that's not the point. If you just commit to like a little bit every day, I just need to learn one thing every day. That's it. If I can just learn a little bit every day and just keep allowing it to compound, it's more important than that than trying to do 1,000,000 hours of work in one day and then burning out and taking 4 days off and then trying to come back in, because it goes spike in momentum and then off, and then spike in momentum and then off. It's much more powerful to like slowly just build up on it and let it just go and go, because it eventually starts just taking off. And it doesn't need to be a lot. It can be just the littlest pieces that you just build up on every day. And so I would just aim to just be a little bit better than you were the day before, and just start stacking all of the evidence of all the wins that you've had, all the things that you're proving of when you start consciously intending on things that you want to create and you start seeing it happen. Write it down, acknowledge it, celebrate it, just to show yourself all the times that it does happen. Because if we don't acknowledge it, it's as if it didn't exist. And it just adds to the evidence that we had previously. We want to make sure that we're basically trying to sell ourselves on the fact that we are deliberately creating our reality. And the thing is like, we can make up excuses all we want about how, well, if we were, then this wouldn't have happened, or I wouldn't have had these experiences in my life and whatever. And if you want to fight for the excuses, the shitty part about it is you get to keep them. Like, you can fight for it all you want, but then you get to keep it. It's like, that's not fun. Like, I'd much rather fight for the other side. And like, it's a lot more fun. It can be tough at times. Like, the reason why I wanted to say that, like, things come up, like, it can be tough at times. I'm not saying it's going to be unicorns and rainbows all the time, but what I am saying is it is so worth it. It is so worth it. You guys have already grown so much in just the last while, depending on how long you've been here. You guys have already seen just the growth in yourselves, just in that alone. Like, even if you made no money at all, just in the growth in yourselves, right? But the funny part is once you continue on that path, like, the money starts to follow. And so it's really, really fun. And so I think that's where I'll leave it for there. For action steps, I would make sure that to complete a clear, compelling vision of the future for 2019, using the 5 senses as much as you possibly can. Who's there? What are you doing? Where are you? Getting very descriptive as you possibly can. And then the feeling. The whole point of it is the feeling. And I would write it out in there. And then I would make sure that every morning when you wake up and every night before you go to bed, that you go over that. I would make sure that right before you shoot a video, right before you put up an ad, right before you get on even a webinar, right before you do anything that's involved in your business, you're getting in the intention of like, what's the perfect outcome of what I'm doing right now? Like, what's the perfect outcome of this? Or what is this going to lead to, right? And getting really, really clear on that. And then just celebrate all the wins, write it all down, stack the evidence. And I'm excited to see what you guys create this year. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Who got value out of that tonight? Like, oh, so many times I was like, yes. And oh man, I even ordered the book while we were on the call and I'm ready to go. So who's gonna start implementing this shit like tonight? Like, absolutely. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Jang for taking the time to come and talk to the team. It really means so much to us. We had over 30 people tune in, right before Christmas, which is a tough time. But you know what? Just like Matt said, the ones that are committing, still to this business, even during the holidays, those are the ones that are going to get ahead. So don't be sleepy, still enjoy your family, but get in there and make this last few days of the year amazing so that when you go into 2019, we can all just crush it. Okay, we've got so many exciting things planned, and just so thankful for you guys for tuning on. If anyone does have any quick questions, I know we're coming into an hour and a half, so if anyone has any quick questions, if Jang will take them, and if not,
Yep.
we would love to have you back again. I know you mentioned it a couple times, Jang, so
I'm in. I love it. I'm in for sure, and I'm totally down. I'm totally down for questions. If you guys have any questions, you guys can go right ahead. And I'll preface it with the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask.
Unless you answered all of them. I'm just kidding. Ashley said, Jane covers it all.
Well, what'll be fun is if you guys do have time to do it tonight, and if not, if you do end up doing it tomorrow when you write it out, like you ever like get on a phone call with someone like before you go to bed and then you have a dream about them? Have you guys ever had that before? This is what's cool is when you start going over your vision or your goals of what you want to accomplish before you go to bed, what do you think you dream about? And you literally like, and you're, that's literally using your subconscious mind, like while you're dreaming to like, it's very cool. Plus it makes your dreams a hell of a lot more fun too. When you're like going around and like living your perfect life and doing all this stuff. You're like, what? You wake up in the morning, you're like, I feel like I'm already there. Like I'm already doing it. Like, this is great.
Totally.
But, yeah.
And one thing I will say just from realizations that I've had from really getting into a routine is, and I put it in the comments, is don't just do it to do it. Like I really like what Jane said, like if you finish whatever you're going to do, your gratitude, your meditation or whatever, and you feel the same way, you probably were just doing the action to get it done with, but not actually getting into that state and feeling any different. You're wasting time essentially is what you just did. You just maybe quieted your body a bit, but you really essentially just wasted your time. And I've definitely done that before, and I'm guilty of it because I'm like, okay, I've got only so much time to get through it because I got to get the kids. Okay, so I got to just do it. It's like, well, I feel a lot better not, so definitely really take it seriously, use that time wisely, and you can transform the rest of your day if you can just take those couple of minutes to really get into it. So
I'll give you guys something that might add to that, what you were just saying there, Carly, because like even just to be more conscious of so I don't know, I haven't told anyone about this yet because I've been testing it, but I've been just so impressed by it that I guess I'll tell you guys. So there's this little thing that you can get, and I'm gonna do a whole video about it, and like I'm really gonna promote this because this is so good. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. There's this little thing. It's called like my nails. You like that? So it's like a little pebble. It's like a little thing that you clip on, and you clip it on the inside of your pants, and it basically can monitor your breath from in there. And so I have it on all the time. And so I'll pull up this so you guys can kind of like see an idea. So you guys know I played around with like Muse headbands that track your brainwaves, which is great for like when you're meditating, but then you're not going to walk around your house or like walk around with this, thing on your head all the time. And so, of course, let me pull it up here. So, of course, it just dies on me. Reconnecting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you can see like it, I don't know if you guys can read this, but it'll show me like 24 minutes calm, 4.2 hours focus, 32 minutes tense, 14 minutes active, 10 minutes save. So what's really cool about this is if you ever get tense, like if you ever get tense throughout the day, because again, if we're tense, how are we feeling? We're feeling tense, we're creating tensity, right? So whenever you get tense, I have it set to a reminder. If I feel tense for 2 minutes, it buzzes me.
Oh,
and so as soon as I get that, then I'm gonna breathe, and I'm just gonna breathe myself. And it even has this little part on here where I can just click these dots here if I'm feeling tense. Again, look at my nail; it's really cool. But these dots come out, and I can go, and it goes in.
Oh, that's so.
And I breathe, and I try to get those dots all green. So it's making me do deep breaths until those dots are all green. And as soon as those dots go all green, I'm back to calm and I'm good. And so all the way throughout the day, I'm constantly getting these reminders just to like breathe and just, okay, hey, you're being tense a little bit, just breathe. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos about it because I think it's just a really cool tool that everyone can use. It's on Amazon. It's called Aspire, I believe, Spire. Type it in here. Kind of like neurofeedback, but it's just for your breathing. It's not brain feedback. So it's not gonna, the Muse headband is neurofeedback. That'll give you your brain waves. This is literally just going off our breaths. And so it'll tell like if your breathing patterns are tense or if they're calm or if they're focused, like you can tell if you're focused. And so you can start to track and see. And then the big thing for me was I wanted to know like when I'm tense so that I can like consciously make sure that I'm breathing and get out of it.
Yes.
But yeah, biofeedback, absolutely. Yeah. super cool. And yeah, I don't know. It just gave me something, because like at first it's more so like, especially when you're first starting to meditate or you're first starting to visualize, sometimes it might be you just sitting there. You know, the first few times, like for me, that's all I did. I just sat there. I'm like, am I doing this right? Is this doing anything? Like eventually it gets to the point where you start getting the feeling, and that's the whole point. You want to be getting back up in a completely different state. And you know that if you get up and you're in the same state that you did when you went down, you know that no change has really happened. So you just want to start getting into like what the feeling is, and almost just trick yourself into feeling that now. You know, like what is it going to feel like when you have already accomplished all of your goals in 2019? Like, how does that feel? And then trick yourself to like just play that out now. Like, fuck, this is gonna be amazing. I have all these things. This is great. This feels so good. I feel awesome. And then just go about your day like feeling like that. Like it's like tricking yourself into playing like that. And the more you do it, it'll just become like a habit that you just do all the time. And then it gets really, really fun.
Oh, love it. Oh, that's so cool. We can create so many amazing things, and I have all the faith in the world with this team for sure. So if there's anyone that can do it, it's you guys, these faces right here. So awesome. It doesn't look like there's any questions right now, but we look forward to having you on in the new year. Once everyone's gotten into state and we're feeling like we're creating amazing things, we'll have you back again, because that was so cool. And we are really pumped about GAS 1.5. So everyone will be diving into their new training. And yeah, we just wanted to say thanks for everything you guys are doing with that. And yeah.
It's so funny because you guys feel like, for you guys, 1.5 is like 2.0, but you guys don't even know what to put. Like, I just want to say everything, but I don't like, I can't ruin it. But it's you guys are going to, I know with what we're laying out with next year and having Cameron and all the people that we've brought in, like, it's crazy. It's not like nothing else exists like this. And the level of education that you guys are going to be able to get is going to be insane. Like you guys are going to be able to learn as much as you want and as advanced as you want, or as basic as you want. Like it's basically based on where you want to be able to go. There's levels, and it'll be fun, and it's going to be like a game, and you're going to be able to earn. Okay, I'm done. I can't say anymore.
Giving away all the goodies. Foreshadow.
But it's gonna be great. It's gonna be cool. But yeah, hopefully you guys like it. It's just gonna keep getting better and better. But thank you guys for having me out, and I'm more than happy to pop out whenever for you guys. This was awesome. This was a ton of fun.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys. Have an amazing holiday, and we will be still chatting. So it's not like we'll see you in the new year. We'll all still be chatting. But have a great night, and thanks again, everyone.
Thanks. Merry Christmas for those of you if I don't see you guys, or happy holidays. Take care.
Thank you.